The video you're about to see originally aired on our Texans YouTube channel, ad-free, by the way. If you're a Texans fan, go support us, help us grow that channel into the next full-time YouTube channel here at Chat Sports. Links in the comments, in the description. It's youtube.com/Texans TV. Welcome into Houston Texans today. I am Tom Downey, subbing in for Sick Willie Scott. We're going to break down the following topics on today's show. What about the idea of not drafting a quarterback at number 2 overall? Montez Sweat trade rumors linked by CBS Sports, and a apparent Lamar Jackson decision has been made by the Texans. We'll break all that down, beginning with the quarterback situations. Texans Wire advocated for not taking a quarterback at number 2 overall, instead saying, look, the team needs pass rush help. The roster's not good enough there. You don't want to draft a quarterback, have him be set up for failure. You should take Will Anderson instead and figure out quarterback later on. So there are some elements of truth to this argument, or at least some rationality based on the argument. I think Will Anderson is the best player in this year's class. And when you have the chance to take the best player at number 2 overall, that's not a bad idea in general. I am a big fan of what Will Anderson offers. I think he'll be a long-time NFL pass rush specialist. He can be a double-digit sack guy. But we are drafting number 2 overall in a quarterback class that is significantly better than what we saw last year. You can make an argument, 4 guys who are better than what Kenny Pickett was, who went mid-late round 1 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And quarterback is more important. I am a firm believer, and I think this is backed out by all the metrics too. It is much tougher to find that top 10 quarterback and build the rest of the roster around him than it is to just build the roster out and plug in any other quarterback. So when you have the chance to find that top 10 guy, if you believe there is one, you owe it to your organization to take him. Now, will all 4 guys, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, pan out as that top 10 guy? No, of course not. You're not going to go 4 for 4. Heck, if you go 2 for 4, that's one of the better draft classes. I mean, think about the Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance class. You might get 2. One is a bust in Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance has not had great results so far. But if you are good at scouting and you decide probably one of Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, I would not take Will Levis at number 2. I would not take Anthony Richardson at number 2 overall. But Young or Stroud, I have first-round grades on him. The positional value of hitting on that top 10 quarterback is more important. And look, there's plenty of arguments of you need to build a good supporting cast. Totally agree. I don't think anyone disagrees. But there are other ways. Like, you're not going to find the quarterback 9 times out of 10 outside of the top 5. There are exceptions, make no mistake, but you're just kicking the can down the road is dangerous. What if you take Will Anderson and you get lucky and win 4 or 5 games? What if you aren't drafting number 2 overall and the possibility of Caleb Williams, of Drake May, is not there? What if one of those guys regresses significantly? The whole meme of next year's quarterback class, or maybe not meme, but bit, of next year's class is better, doesn't always pan out. So in the end, go through your process as an organization. If you decide Bryce Young, Stroud, or if you think it's Levis Richardson, which I don't agree with, if one of those guys you like, if you think that guy is going to be a top 10 franchise caliber quarterback, you take them. Because it's going to be easier to build out the rest of the supporting cast than it is to find another top 10 quarterback in a potential year down the road. So if you like 1 or 2, you have to take him. I mean, put it to you this way. Different example. If the Commanders could do it over, they would not take Chase Young at number 2 overall. They would take Tua. They would take Justin Herbert. Probably should have taken one. So would you draft a quarterback at number 2 overall? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me at the pinned comments of today's video. If the ad break happens to come here on YouTube, just ignore it, whatever. Go down there and vote. If you're on our Texans channel, congrats. No ad, but still, go vote. Montez Sweat trade rumors are next up here. CBS Sports has linked the Texans as a potential trade fit for Montez Sweat, the Commanders' pass rusher. They had 5 teams linked to Sweat, who's owed about $11 million. So there is some issues there in terms of just the straight-up cap hit. But the Bears, Chiefs, Cardinals, Falcons, and Texans. I don't love the Falcons. They've invested some at edge. I do get what they're going for, though, with teams like the Bears and the Houston Texans. Montez Sweat, although he's not a top 10 pass rusher, he is very good. He has been a pretty consistent 7 to 8 sack guy. Now, he only played 10 games 2021, so the numbers are down. The argument was, hey, look, the Commanders are paying Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne. They might have to pay Chase Young. Probably not going to pay Montez Sweat as well. So if you're a team like the Texans, and as we'll get into, you need pass rush help, maybe the proven thing in Montez Sweat would make some more sense, especially if you draft a quarterback in round 1. What if it costs you a second, a third? Would you do that trade? What round pick would you be willing to move for Montez Sweat? He's not a rookie. He's due for a big fat new deal in the near future, but he's proven, and he is still young enough to fit your timeline. What draft pick would you trade for Montez Sweat? Sound off in the comments section. Texans defensive line depth chart sits for now like this. You're probably okay at DT between Rankins, Collins, Lopez, Ridgeway, maybe Thomas Booker emerges. Edge rusher, old Jerry Hughes, young, mostly unreliable for the most part, Jonathan Grenard, Chase Winovich, Derek Rivers. Yeah, you need an edge rusher. And if you get Sweat for a 2 or 3, hypothetically, then you don't have to take one at maybe 12, which I think is a very likely outcome, or at the top of your round 2. You need pass rush help. So maybe you don't feel you're ready for that move, and I get that. But if Sweat does get moved, I think Houston makes a lot of sense as a potential destination. A big thank you to everyone who helped us get to 2,000 subscribers here on Texans Today. 3,000 is the next number. It's 997, so a long way to go. But if you want more free Texans videos, then make sure you guys are subscribed to youtube.com/TexansTV. Hit that sub button right now. As promised, we will wrap up on the Lamar Jackson situation. Aaron Wilson, the Texans reporter, at least Houston-based reporter, he's kind of bounced around lately, reports Texans will not be pursuing Lamar Jackson. Yet another team who is out on the Lamar saga, as I like to call it, as it specifically relates to Houston. Those of you who've watched our NFL coverage at Chat Sports know I think the whole thing's weird, but specifically for Houston, I get that. You have the number 2 overall pick, and in general, and we saw this with the number 1 overall pick in years past, the value of the number 1 overall pick or a top 3 pick, what it means to the franchise, the young quarterback, the hope that it provides an organization, that's probably outsized value to what the reality is of. It could be Justin Herbert. It could be Zach Wilson. So gambling on a quarterback at number 2, I understand that. I understand the desire to see what the young guy can be because there is value in that, in the hope, in the upside, and it's a little bit of the, it's the mystery box. It could be anything, but the allure of that is valuable. So specifically for Houston, I get that. I think that makes more sense. But for Lamar in general, where will he play in 2023? Sound off for me in the comments section right now. Get those predictions in. Where does Lamar Jackson play this upcoming season? It's not Houston. Is it the Ravens? I'm not sure. Go vote for me right now. We'll talk some more quarterbacks for the Texans in general here, but overall, I do want to make a note. The Lamar thing's weird. Like, I get Houston not having interest for the reasons I just mentioned of being young, wanting to see what ends up happening there, but you've got a great football player here. And to just be like, for all these different teams to be like, nah, we good. Like, AFC South Rebel, the Colts should have a lot of interest here. Because if you take an Anthony Richardson, aren't you hoping he just becomes a Lamar Jackson, a dual threat MVP caliber? Isn't that what you're hoping for? So why wouldn't you want the sure thing? I know his numbers have dipped the past 2 years. I acknowledge that. But 25, like, he's younger than Stetson Bennett is, and Bennett might get drafted. Like, Will Levis is 24, soon to be 24. Really? I am continuously confused about the Lamar Jackson drama and why there just doesn't appear to be a lick of interest, or at least like exploring it. Really, Falcons? You think Desmond Ritter's your guy? Commanders don't think Lamar Jackson fits their offense? Your head coach is Ron Rivera. You had Cam. Like, what are we doing? You had Cam Newton. It's just weird. But specifically for the Houston Texans, take Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I know there's been a little bit of buzz of like, do your research on Levis Richardson. Don't get me wrong. Like do your jobs to make sure like you know that. There's nothing wrong with meeting them because you want to get a feel for the player. You know, us media scouts and fans can't do that. But if you're Houston, take a Bryce Young, take a CJ Stroud, and hope that those guys can become your franchise quarterback. Back to the whole conversation of drafting, a Will Anderson, and the analogy that was made. I'm going to the team card here for me, producer. Thank you very much, there, Tex. One of the arguments was they once passed on. They passed on Julius Peppers to take David Carr. And the argument was, well, your team isn't in good enough shape. And I get that. But you have other picks, too. Like, I think it is easier, not easy, but easier to get the quarterback in place and build out the rest of the roster versus build out the rest of the roster and then hope your timing is so perfect you can go get a quarterback. Like, you run the risk of doing what the Panthers did. You were in good position. You ended up winning some more games than what you wanted to. You had to move your best playmaker that was going to help your quarterback to go get the quarterback. So you are in range. You cost yourself the number 1 overall pick. Thanks, Lovey, and thanks, organization, for winning it. That hurts you, but you still could get a Young or a Stroud. So if you're Houston, take one of them. Take that quarterback, see what they can do for you. If you miss, you miss. But you don't want to be Indy, and you spent years not actually taking a quarterback, and now you're in a really rough spot, and your job's on the line. So Houston, take the QB at number 2 and see if it ends up working out.